In terms of the two main ways, like one and almost out of OPEC plus hands is more the fact that we are seeing ongoing demand concerns in oil markets. So how much would the rest of the world have to replenish if we saw an Iranian supply disruption? But to your point, we clearly have OPEC plus policy, which is very much gearing towards unwinding their voluntary cuts. And now that's expected fourth quarter. We saw a meeting in early August where they reaffirmed that strategy. But of course, that's contingent on how developments in global oil markets go for the coming months. Now, our view is that they will have to maintain supply discipline and keep their voluntary cuts in place at least till the end of this year, given that the oversupply threat that comes in, even if OPEC Plus supplies the barrels. And so this is where it really is OPEC Plus benefits if we do see an Iranian supply disruption in coming months. And that's really where we think there's an advantage for OPEC Plus and even say US oil producers. But when it comes down to how this market unfolds, there is so much uncertainty, just given how this can really play out if you take different scenarios. But I think as much as oil markets are sensitive, right, they're also very much looking at real action and real disruption. And so far, that has been elusive if you look at everything since October 7th.
Sure. And after that, if you're talking about, from whatever we heard from the U.S. administration, the U.S. SPR, which is the U.S. Special Petroleum Reserve, that's out there ready to bridge the gap when it comes to U.S.'s output of energy. Not just that, if you are looking at more drilling activity down the road, maybe 3 or 4 months, where there would be a change in the U.S. oil policy, if Trump 2.0 was the reality that we are faced with, then wouldn't that also change the equation when it comes to the whole supply side of the equation for the oil market?
Look, absolutely. And I'd say immediately it means that any Iranian supply disruption is somehow being mitigated because you have enough spare capacity. But I think where the market needs to be concerned is almost on the flip side of being an oversupplied market. Because keep in mind that OPEC Plus is going to be hurting the most if we do see this scenario develop where US keeps pumping out oil output. And more than that, global oil demand continues to get hurt by EV adoption rates and increases in fuel efficiency. And that puts OPEC Plus, and this is kind of an 18th to 2-year view in terms of the biggest risk to the market, is how can OPEC Plus strategy really stack up in a market where they are effectively forced to keep curtailing because non-OPEC Plus supply is enough to meet global demand growth. They are forcing themselves in a situation where they become increasingly irrelevant. And if OPEC Plus ever defends market share, we can quickly see a scenario where they flood the market. And instead of a $75 to $85 a barrel for Brent, where its trading range has really been, we could pivot significantly lower because OPEC Plus is forced to defend market share. So I think what you're talking about, the risks that you're talking about, U.S. oil supply and non-OPEC Plus supply growth in particular, it has huge ramifications. But more on the flip side, it's no longer about Iran. I would say it's entirely about OPEC Plus supply policy.